You know those moments, right? Maybe watching a sunset, just something really beautiful, and for just a second, your mind,
Yeah.
it just stops.
Yeah, that inner monologue, the constant chatter, it just goes quiet.
All the worries, the plans,
Yeah.
gone, just pure presence. Well, it feels real, doesn't it? Like a little peek behind the curtain.
It's exactly that. A glimpse of something that's always there, but we usually miss it because we're caught up in, well, thinking.
And that feeling, that state, is exactly what we're diving into today. Welcome, everyone, to the deep dive.
Today we're digging into Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now. It's pretty transformative stuff.
Definitely. Our goal here is to pull out the really key insights, the core message, kind of give you a solid handle on what it's all about. Tolle presents it as a guide to, well, spiritual enlightenment.
Right, not just theory, but a practical path to ending suffering by fundamentally shifting how you experience consciousness.
And the absolute core idea, which came from his own pretty intense experience overcoming constant anxiety.
Yeah, he realized the root of our suffering, basically, is that we mistakenly think we are our minds. We identify with the voice in our head.
He talks about that feeling, like when you say, I can't live with myself. He points out, there seem to be two of you there, the I and the self it struggles with.
Exactly. So this deep dive is all about how to sort of reclaim your true self from that nonstop thinking and find real inner peace and even joy.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Tolle uses the word enlightenment. What does he actually mean by that? It sounds kind of lofty. And what's the main thing stopping us?
Yeah, he brings it down to earth. Enlightenment isn't some, superhuman achievement. He calls it your natural state of felt oneness with being.
Oneness with being. Okay.
Or, even simpler, like the Buddha said, the end of suffering. That's it.
And the biggest obstacle?
Identification with your mind. That's the big one. It leads to constant compulsive thinking. You know Descartes? I think, therefore I am.
Sure. Famous line.
Tolle says that's basically the fundamental error, equating thinking with being. Your existence is much deeper than just your thoughts.
So the mind, which should be this amazing tool.
It becomes the master instead of the servant, right?
Yeah.
If you use it wrong, or rather, if you don't realize you are not it, then it uses you.
He calls it a disease, even a delusion, the belief that you are your mind. Pretty strong language.
It is. And importantly, when he says mind, he doesn't just mean thoughts. He includes emotions, too, and all those, automatic reactions we have.
Ah, okay. So emotions are part of this mind complex.
Definitely. He says emotions are basically the body's reaction to your mind. So an angry thought pops up.
And you feel anger in your body. Yeah, makes sense. Or a
Yeah.
scary thought.
And boom, fear. Physical fear. He points out strong emotions literally change your body chemistry.
You really can feel that shift physically, can't you? Which leads us to another really central idea in the book, the pain body. What exactly is that?
Right, the pain body. It's basically this accumulation of old emotional pain, stuff from your past, maybe even stuff inherited, like collective human suffering.
So like emotional baggage, but almost alive.
Kinda, yeah. He says it lives on in you, and this is the kicker, it actually seeks to survive by feeding on more pain. It wants experiences that generate the same old negative emotions.
Wow. So it tries to perpetuate itself. How does that show up?
It can be internal, like those recurring loops of sadness or anger, or it can subtly influence your behavior, making you react in ways that maybe unconsciously create situations that trigger more pain, like picking fights or getting drawn to drama.
So it's like this shadow self that thrives on negativity.
Pretty much. Toyle argues all negative emotions are just forms of one basic underlying pain, which comes from losing touch with who you really are, beyond your name, your history, your thoughts.
Okay, so the pain body wants to feed. Can you give a quick everyday example? How might it sneakily get us to feel bad?
Sure. Maybe you're having a perfectly okay day and someone says something innocent, but it triggers an old wound, like a criticism you heard years ago.
Ah, right.
Suddenly you feel defensive, maybe lash out, or just withdraw into resentment. That's the pain body, grabbing the wheel, seeking that familiar energy, or just replaying an argument in your head over and over.
Keeping the anger alive. Got it. That's really clear.
Yeah, it subtly pulls you back into that suffering state.
And speaking of being pulled back, Tolle has a lot to say about our relationship with time, doesn't he? He calls it the insanity of psychological time.
Oh, absolutely. He argues that the mind's constant focus on the past and the future creates this delusion of time.
Delusion? How so?
Well, it uses memory of the past to build your identity, who you think you are. And it uses anticipation of the future to promise happiness or salvation, something better later.
But he says both are illusions.
Because life only ever happens now. The present moment is the only reality we ever actually experience directly. Past and future only exist as thoughts in the present.
And he connects this idea to some really disturbing, large-scale things, right? To show how dangerous this focus on time can be.
He does, yeah. He points to things like communism or national socialism, big political ideologies.
How do they relate?
Think about it. A powerful belief in some future paradise, some utopia they were building. It was used to justify horrific things happening now.
Like enslavement, torture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Murder on a massive scale. He mentions, I think, maybe 50 million people killed just in the name of achieving the communist ideal someday. It shows how a fixation on a future goal can make the present moment and the people in it seem expendable.
That's a chilling perspective. He flat out calls psychological time a serious and dangerous mental illness.
He does. It's a stark warning.
So, linking that huge, scary example back to us, to our everyday lives, how does this obsession with the future or dwelling on the past actually hurt us personally? It might seem less dramatic.
It's the same core problem, just scaled down. Always waiting for Friday or for vacation or retirement to really live or be happy.
Or endlessly replaying old regrets or arguments.
Right. All that mental time travel completely blinds us to the power and infinite creative potential that's only available right now in the present. Life loses its vibrancy, its freshness. That sense of wonder you mentioned earlier, it gets buried.
So you feel like you're just going through the motions, waiting for something else.
Exactly. And Tolle's bottom line is, all negativity is caused by an accumulation of psychological time and denial of the present.
Okay, so this isn't just about feeling a bit better. It impacts everything, even collectively. So the big question then, if this mind identification and time addiction is so ingrained, how do we break free? What's the first step?
And that brings us to the solutions, the how-to. The very first step he suggests is actually surprisingly simple. It's start listening to the voice in your head as often as you can.
Listening to it, not arguing with it or trying to stop it.
No, just listening. Like you listen to the sound of a river, becoming the watcher of the thinker. You step back and witness the thoughts without getting caught up in them. You become the witnessing presence.
Okay, so I'm not the thoughts. I'm the awareness behind the thoughts. What actually happens when you do that consistently?
It's quite profound. A different dimension of consciousness starts to emerge. The thoughts, because you're not feeding them with your belief and identification, start to lose their power. They quiet down.
And you get those gaps.
Exactly. A gap of no mind. Even short gaps bring this immediate sense of stillness and peace. And out of that peace, he says, comes this subtle joy, the joy of being.
The joy of just existing separate from the thought stream.
Precisely. And crucially, it's not like a trance. You're actually more alert, more present than when you're lost in thought.
That sounds amazing, but maybe a bit abstract for someone starting out. Is there a more direct way in? Something less observational?
Absolutely. If watching the thinker feels tricky, he suggests simply direct the focus of your attention into the now. Just bring your full awareness to whatever you're doing in this moment.
So like mindfulness.
It's the core of it, yeah. He calls it the essence of meditation, but applied to everyday life. Pay attention to the feeling of your feet on the ground when you walk. Really feel the water when you wash your hands. Notice your breath after you shut the car door. Simple things.
And how do you know if it's working?
The feedback is internal. It's the degree of peace that you feel within. If you feel calmer, more present, you're doing it.
I like how practical that makes it, bringing it right into mundane activities. And he also talks about using the body itself as a doorway, right? Inhabiting the inner body.
Yes, this is huge for him. The body isn't just this physical shell. It's a direct point of access into the realm of being. He talks about an invisible inner body, sort of aliveness or energy animating you.
So how do you access that?
The instruction is simple. Direct your attention into the body. Feel it from within. Not thinking about it, but feeling the life in your hands, your feet, your torso, like a subtle energy field.
And the purpose of that?
It anchors you firmly in the now. It stops you getting lost in your head, in thoughts about past or future. It's a very grounding practice.
And he mentions physical benefits too. Feeling lighter, clearer, more alive.
That's right. When you bring consciousness into the body, it feels more vibrant. He even suggests it can slow down the aging process because more awareness lessens the illusion of materiality, the sense of being just dense matter.
Interesting. And he uses metaphors for stability.
Yeah, like being a tree deeply rooted in the earth. Or that parable Jesus told about building your house on a solid foundation. Inner body awareness gives you that deep stability and resilience. You're connected to something deeper than the surface fluctuations of life.
So we have watching the thinker, focusing attention on the now, inhabiting the inner body. Powerful tools. Does he mention other ways, other portals into this present moment awareness, or what he calls the unmanifested?
He does. Two other really interesting ones are silence and space. They're less about doing something and more about shifting your perception.
Silence. How does that work if, the world is noisy?
It's about listening through the noise, listening to the silence underneath the sounds, whether it's traffic, a dog barking, whatever. He says every sound is born from silence and dies back into it. By tuning into that underlying silence, you find inner stillness.
Ah, so the silence is always there, even amidst sound. You just shift your focus.
Exactly. It's a subtle shift. And similarly with space, instead of focusing only on objects, the furniture, the walls, the people pay attention to the space between them, the empty space that allows everything else to exist.
Like the background instead of the foreground.
Right. He connects it to the Buddhist Heart Sutra. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. Recognizing the reality and presence of space helps you access that state of no mind, because space itself doesn't have mental concepts attached to it. For people maybe not deep into Buddhism, it just means realizing the emptiness is as real as the stuff.
Fascinating ways to shift perspective. And then there's surrender. That word can be loaded, can't it? Sounds like giving up.
It really can. But Tolle redefines it completely. It's not about passively accepting defeat. It's about yielding to, rather than opposing the flow of life. Meaning accepting the present moment exactly as it is without arguing with reality internally, saying yes to what is, even if you don't like it. It's an inner state of non-resistance.
But you can still take action, right? It doesn't mean doing nothing if action is needed.
Absolutely not. In fact, he says surrender makes your actions much more effective because they come from a place of peace and clarity, not reactive resistance or negativity. You're aligned with the situation, even if you then act to change it.
Okay, that makes sense. It's about dissolving the inner no.
Precisely.
And this state of presence, this no mind, it has real practical benefits beyond just feeling calm, right? Like for creativity or how we relate to people.
Huge benefits. For creativity, he suggests that the best ideas don't come from frantic thinking. When you need a solution or an inspiration, he advises stopping thought for a moment, maybe by focusing on your inner body energy.
Think with your whole body, he says.
Exactly. And in relationships, this presence is maybe the most valuable thing. He suggests listening not just with your ears, but with your whole body, feeling your own inner energy field as you listen.
How does that help?
It pulls your attention away from your own mental commentary, your judgments, your next response. It creates this still, open space where you can truly listen without the mind interfering. He calls it the most precious gift you can give.
Wow, and that leads to connection.
He says it's the beginning of the realization of oneness, which is love. True connection happens beyond the mental level.
That really changes the whole dynamic of interaction. And speaking of relationships, he dives deep into how presence transforms them, contrasting typical relationships with true love.
Right. He points out that many relationships, what he sometimes calls love-hate relationships, are largely driven by the ego, especially after the initial in-love buzz wears off.
Ego and addiction, he calls it.
Yeah, addiction not necessarily to substances, but to the other person, fulfilling a sense of lack within you. It stems from this deep-seated state of fear, need, lack, and incompleteness. Even intense connection like sexual union, he says, offers only a fleeting glimpse of wholeness. It's not the ultimate answer or salvation.
And the pain body plays a big role here, too, causing conflict.
Definitely. He says partners often don't cause our pain and unhappiness. Rather, they bring out the pain and unhappiness that is already in you. The dormant pain body gets activated and projected onto the partner.
So what's the key to shifting that dynamic, according to Tolle?
Radical acceptance. Complete acceptance of your partner as he or she is, without trying to change them or judge them. That acceptance, that non-interference from your ego, is paradoxically the greatest catalyst for change in a relationship. It allows something deeper to emerge.
Moving beyond the ego games. And he also makes that interesting point about women potentially being closer to this state.
He does suggest that, generally speaking, women might find it easier to feel and be in their body, possibly due to biological factors, making the inner body portal more accessible. He sees this as making women a potential bridge between the manifested world and the unmanifested.
That's a fascinating idea. Can you elaborate a bit on why he thinks women might have this easier access through the body?
Well, he links it partly to the experience of cycles, like menstruation, and the potential for carrying life. These experiences might naturally foster a closer connection to bodily sensations and rhythms than is typical for many men in our culture.
So it's an innate connection to the physical.
Potentially, yes. And he even suggests that the discomfort sometimes associated with menstruation, often seen as part of a collective female pain body, can actually become a powerful spiritual practice if met with alert presence rather than unconscious resistance. It's about bringing awareness to the body's experience.
Transmuting pain through presence. So again, the change starts inside. And this relates to happiness too, doesn't it? He makes a clear distinction between happiness and peace.
He does. He sees happiness as usually dependent on external conditions being good. Get the job, find the partner, win the lottery, then you're happy. But it's fleeting because conditions always change.
Whereas inner peace.
Inner peace is independent of conditions. It comes from that connection to being, to the now. And interestingly, he suggests that things we typically label as bad failure, loss, illness, pain, can actually be profound spiritual teachers
How so?
because they force you to let go. They shatter false ego identifications and self-images. They can lead to real depth, humility, and compassion if you meet them with awareness instead of just resistance.
So challenges are actually opportunities for awakening. He even says most bad things are self-created.
Yes, due to unconsciousness,
Mm.
created by the ego, really.
Yeah.
He calls the resulting cycles of suffering drama.
And the way out of drama.
It is living in complete acceptance of what is. That radical inner yes to the present moment dissolves the ego's need for conflict and negativity. And this acceptance naturally extends into compassion.
How does he define compassion in this context?
As a deep awareness of a deep bond between yourself and all creatures. It recognizes both our shared mortality, we all face challenges and eventually pass away, and our shared deeper reality, that eternal radiant life of being. It's seeing both levels simultaneously.
And this personal transformation, this presence, it doesn't just stay personal, does it? He suggests it ripples outwards.
Massively.
Mm-hmm.
By becoming present, you become, in his words, a light of the world, a transformer of the world. Your state of consciousness affects everything around you, often without you even doing anything specific. You start to dissolve suffering at its root cause, which is unconsciousness.
So our inner state literally helps shape the outer world.
He argues that our collective human world is largely created through the level of consciousness we call mind. So if enough individuals shift their consciousness from mind identification to presence.
You will literally inhabit a new world. That's a huge claim.
It is. He calls it a potential quantum leap in the evolution of consciousness, and maybe even our only chance of survival as a race. He even links it to those old prophecies like the lion shall lie down with the lamb, or a new heaven and new earth, a fundamental transformation.
It really frames this inner work as having potentially world-changing significance. But if we're so driven by unconscious patterns, how much choice do we really have in changing? He challenges that idea of choosing suffering, right?
He does. He says true choice requires a high degree of consciousness. Until you reach that level, you're not really choosing. You're often just compelled by your conditioned mind, by the pain body, by unconscious patterns.
So people aren't choosing to be unhappy or in dysfunctional situations.
No. He states clearly, nobody chooses dysfunction, conflict, pain. Nobody chooses insanity. They happen because there is not enough presence in you to dissolve the past, not enough light to dispel the darkness. It's about a lack of awareness, not a lack of willpower in the usual sense.
So the way to gain genuine choice is to cultivate presence.
Exactly. It's about learning how to be that observing presence behind your thoughts and emotions. Understanding the pain body and how to disidentify from it, practicing inner body awareness, really grasping and living the meaning of presence. That's where real freedom and choice begin, waking up moment by moment.
It really comes down to realizing that all the power we have exists only in this present moment.
That's the essence, the power of your presence. It's always here, always accessible, underneath the noise of the mind.
Wow. What a deep dive into Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. We've really covered how getting lost in our minds in past and future creates so much suffering.
But also, crucially, how liberation comes through embracing this very moment, through watching the thinker, feeling the inner body, using those portals like silence and space.
Finding that peace, joy, and even true love aren't things to chase out there, but states of being that unfold from within when we stop living in psychological time.
And remembering Tolle's point, maybe the most powerful way to help create a better world isn't just through external action, but through waking up ourselves, transforming our own consciousness first.
That really shifts the focus, doesn't it? So here's something to mull over. If transforming your own consciousness is the most direct way to heal yourself and contribute to healing the world, what's one tiny act of presence you could bring into your life right now?
Maybe it's just feeling your breath for the next 60 seconds, or feeling the aliveness in your hands as you listen to this, or truly listening without interrupting mentally the next time someone speaks to you.
We really encourage you to play with these ideas. Observe your thoughts. Feel your body. Practice presence in small moments throughout your day. See what happens.
Because the real power of now isn't just an idea to understand intellectually, it's a reality to be lived, moment by moment.